A widowed billionaire saw a nanny nursing his baby, and that single moment pulled open a truth he never wanted to face. In that quiet house, where sorrow lived in every corner, a small baby cried until his voice was almost gone, calling for help that never came. Downstairs, a young black woman named Maya wiped the same spot on the floor again and again, trying to silence the memory of the child she lost, a child she could not save. But the crying above her kept cutting into her chest, soft at first, then weaker, as if the little boy was slipping away. Her hands shook, her breath grew tight, and something inside her refused to stay still. She dropped everything, climbed the stairs, and opened the nursery door. What she found inside that room would pull her into a choice that could cost her job, her peace, and the little strength she had left. Yet it was the only thing that could keep that baby alive. Maya stood in the doorway, her breath stuck in her throat. The room felt too quiet, too heavy, as if the walls were holding their own pain. Baby Caleb lay in the crib, his small face red and tired, his arms weak as he tried to cry, but no sound came out. His body looked still, his lips dry, his chest rising in tiny, shallow movements. For a moment, Maya could not move. Her heart felt like someone was pressing it with a heavy hand. She had seen a baby like this before, and that memory lived inside her like a wound that never healed. She stepped inside slowly, almost afraid her presence would break something. The bottle on the table had spoiled, the smell drifting through the air. The crib sheet was damp from tears. The room felt warm in a strange way, like fever had settled in and refused to leave. Maya touched the baby's forehead gently and pulled her hand back as if fire had burned her skin. Caleb was hot, far too hot for a child so small. Her voice came out soft, almost like a prayer. "Please, little one, stay with me." She lifted him carefully, pressing him close to her chest. His tiny fingers moved like he was searching for something, anything that could bring him comfort. Maya held him tighter, her own tears rising. She tried to think clearly, tried to breathe, but her mind kept going back to the night she lost her own baby. The weak cry, the fear, the helpless feeling in her chest, the memory still lived in her like a shadow that followed her everywhere. She rocked Caleb slowly, whispering to him, trying to calm his shaking body. But his skin was too hot, his mouth too dry. He turned his face toward her, searching with an instinct older than words. It broke her heart. She looked around for formula, for anything that could help, but there was nothing fresh. Lisa Morgan had not returned. Hours had passed, and the child had been alone. Maya sat in the chair beside the window, her body trembling as she held him. She could feel her own heartbeat shaking through her arms. 6 weeks had passed since she buried her son, yet her body still carried the last signs of motherhood. She had prayed for it to go away, prayed for her body to forget, but maybe there was a reason it had not. Maybe this moment was the reason. Caleb let out a soft, weak cry, the kind that told her time was running out. Maya closed her eyes and whispered, "I cannot let you go. Not again." Her hands shook as she unbuttoned her blouse a little and brought him close. He latched on with desperation, his small body relaxing against her as he suckled slowly. Maya felt her own tears fall on his blanket. The room grew quiet, peaceful, in a way that felt almost unreal. Caleb's breathing steadied. His fingers relaxed. His head rested softly on her chest. She rocked him gently, whispering words she had not spoken since her child died. "It is all right. I am here. You are safe." As she held him, she felt something inside her open, something she thought had died with her son. For a moment, she forgot the mansion, the job, the rules. She only felt the weight of a child who needed her. Minutes passed, but it felt like hours. Caleb's fever slowly eased, his body settling in her arms. Maya kept her eyes on him, afraid that if she blinked, he might slip away again. She kissed his forehead gently, her voice shaking as she whispered, "You are not alone, little one." Then she heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, heavy, each step coming closer. Maya froze. Her heart thumped painfully. She looked toward the door, her breath tight. The doorknob moved. The door opened, and Daniel Harris stepped inside. He stopped at the doorway, his eyes widening as he saw Maya sitting with his child in her arms, her blouse partly unbuttoned, Caleb resting against her chest. The light from the window shone on both of them, creating a picture he could not understand. His face changed, confusion mixing with shock, then something darker behind his eyes. Maya could not speak. She held Caleb a little closer, as if someone might try to take him. Daniel took a few slow steps forward, his face unreadable. The room grew quiet again, but the silence felt different, heavier. He stared at her, then at the child, then back at her. Maya opened her mouth, trying to find her voice, but no words came. Her throat felt tight. She could feel the tension in the room pulling at her chest. "Sir," she whispered softly, her voice shaking. "I can explain." Daniel did not answer. He only stepped closer, his eyes fixed on the scene in front of him. The truth of what happened hung in the air, waiting, heavy and uncertain, as the room fell into a silence that held the weight of everything that was about to come next. Daniel stood there for a long moment, his face caught between questions he could not speak and emotions he did not know how to name. The air in the room felt tight, almost too heavy to breathe. Maya held Caleb closer, her arms shaking as she waited for him to say something, anything that could guide her next step. Her heart felt like it was standing on a thin line between fear and hope. Daniel finally stepped closer, his voice low. "What are you doing?" Maya swallowed, her hands trembling. "Sir, he was not breathing well. He was too hot. The bottle was spoiled. He was alone for hours. I did not know what else to do." Daniel looked at the bottle on the table, the sour smell drifting across the room. His jaw tightened, his eyes filling with something she could not read. He looked at Caleb's calm face, his small fingers resting on Maya's shirt, then back at her. "You fed my son," Daniel said slowly. "Without my permission." Maya felt her body weaken. She nodded, tears filling her eyes. "Yes, sir, I did. Because he needed it. He would not survive the night. I could not just stand there and watch him suffer." Daniel ran a hand through his hair, pacing a few steps away. He kept turning his face toward the crib, then away, like he was fighting his own thoughts. The room felt warmer, thicker, as if every piece of it was waiting for his decision. Maya gently lifted Caleb away from her chest and placed him back in the crib. He stirred a little, then settled quietly, his breathing soft and steady. Maya buttoned her blouse with shaking hands, her eyes never leaving the baby. Daniel watched her closely. The sight of Caleb finally resting after days of pain pulled at him in a way he did not expect. For weeks, he had failed to bring peace to his son. Now this woman, this maid, had brought comfort in minutes. But the rules of his world pressed hard on him, and pride pushed against the truth he did not want to accept. He spoke again, his voice colder this time. "You should have called me." Maya looked up, her tears slipping down her cheeks. "Sir, you were in a meeting. He needed help now, not later. Waiting would have killed him." Daniel's face tightened. His breath came in a slow, controlled way. He looked at Caleb again, at the calm he had not seen since Emma died. "Finally," he whispered, "leave the room, Maya." Maya stepped back, fear tightening her chest. "Sir, please, let me stay with him. He is still weak." Daniel shook his head. "Leave. I will call for the doctor." Maya hesitated, looking once more at Caleb. Her heart pulled toward him, but her feet slowly moved toward the door. Before leaving, she whispered softly, "Rest well, Caleb." Then she stepped outside, closing the door behind her. Maya leaned against the hallway wall, breathing hard. Her hands covered her face as tears ran freely down her cheeks. She had done what any mother would do, but now she did not know if she would lose her job, her safety, or even the small place she had found in that mansion. She listened through the door, hearing the silence in the nursery. a silence she feared might become her punishment. Inside, Daniel stood over the crib, his eyes locked on his son. Caleb breathed gently, a small, soft sound escaping his lips. Peace. For the first time in days, Daniel sat in the chair Maya had used earlier. The fabric was still warm. He placed his hands on his knees and leaned forward, his face tight with confusion. He had seen something that felt wrong to the world he lived in, yet everything inside him whispered that it had saved his son. Hours passed slowly. The doctor arrived, checked Caleb, and confirmed the fever was going down. Daniel nodded quietly, hiding the truth from the doctor, hiding the truth even from himself. When the house grew quiet that night, whispers began to spread among the staff. One maid had seen Maya running upstairs. Another claimed she saw Daniel's shocked expression. Another said she heard crying, then silence. By morning, rumors had grown into stories. Lisa Morgan returned just before sunrise, carrying shopping bags instead of formula. She walked into the kitchen and asked casually, "Where is Maya?" The staff exchanged nervous glances. One whispered, "The boss found her feeding the baby." Lisa froze, the color draining from her face. "What did you say?" The maid repeated it, softer this time. "The boss saw her nursing Caleb." Lisa laughed, but it was shaky. "That is disgusting. That is not normal. She must be crazy." But inside, fear crawled through her chest. She had abandoned Caleb for hours, and now someone else had done her job. If Daniel learned the truth, she would lose everything she enjoyed, the money, the comfort, the easy job she took for granted. Lisa spent the morning twisting the story, shaping it into something ugly. She whispered to the gardener, to the cook, to the driver, saying that Maya was trying to act like Emma, that she was trying to replace her, that something was wrong with her mind after losing her baby. Her words spread like smoke through the mansion. When Daniel entered the dining room later, he felt every eye watching him. He sat at the table, rubbing his forehead, tired from a night of thinking. Lisa stepped inside, her voice soft, sweet, pretending to care. "Sir, can we talk?" Daniel looked at her without emotion. "What is it?" Lisa pretended to hesitate. "It is about Maya. I do not feel safe with her around Caleb." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" Lisa came closer, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret. "She lost her baby, sir," she whispered. "She is hurt. She is not thinking well. She is trying to replace your wife. She is attached in a strange way. I am worried she may cross more lines." Daniel stared at her for a long moment. Something inside him felt uneasy, but he remained silent. The weight of people watching him, the pressure of his world, the fear of scandal, all pushed against his chest. Maya passed by the doorway just then, carrying cleaning supplies. Her eyes were red, her steps heavy. She paused as she heard Lisa whispering, and the sound of her own name felt like a sharp cut to her heart. She walked away slowly, wondering if the truth she lived last night would be twisted into something that would destroy her. The day moved with long, slow hours, each minute carrying more tension. In the quiet corners of the mansion, Maya cleaned with shaking hands. In his office, Daniel sat with his thoughts, struggling with the truth he did not know how to face. The mansion held a silence that felt like a storm waiting to break, and nothing felt safe anymore. The sun began to set, and with it, the thin line between truth and lies grew harder to see. What happened next would change everything, and the night was far from over. Night settled over the Harris mansion with a quiet that felt heavy. The wide halls carried no laughter, no soft sounds, only the slow echo of footsteps and the faint hum of the lights. Maya moved through the rooms with tired arms, her rag brushing across tables she had cleaned many times. Her mind could not rest, her heart could not slow down. She kept remembering the moment Daniel told her to leave the nursery, the cold look in his eyes, the silence that felt like a door closing on her. In the office upstairs, Daniel sat at his desk staring at nothing. Papers were spread in front of him, but his eyes did not follow the numbers. He kept remembering the sight of Maya holding Caleb, the way the baby rested against her, the way peace settled around them. Something inside him had softened when he saw that, but he covered it quickly, hiding behind fear of gossip and judgment. Now that the house was quiet, his thoughts grew louder. He leaned back in his chair, running his hand over his face, unsure what he should feel or believe. Lisa walked down the hallway holding a tray of tea she did not plan to drink. She stopped in front of the office door, listening. When she heard nothing, she stepped inside without knocking. Daniel looked up, his face tight. Lisa placed the tray on the table and spoke with a gentle tone she did not truly feel. "Sir, I want to make sure you understand that everything I said earlier was for Caleb's safety. Maya is not thinking clearly." Daniel listened, but something inside him held back. He knew Lisa had left the mansion for hours. He knew Caleb had been alone. Still, he said nothing. Lisa moved closer, lowering her voice. "You cannot trust someone who crosses such a line. People in this city will talk. It will ruin everything you built." Daniel turned his face away, breathing slowly. The room felt too warm. He remembered Maya's tears, her shaking hands, her words from earlier. "He was starving, sir. He was burning with fever. I could not watch him die." Something in those words stayed with him even now. Lisa kept talking, filling the room with more worries, more fear, more doubt. Maya reached her small room near the staff quarters. She closed the door quietly and sat on the bed, her hands resting in her lap. She looked around at the small space she called home. The air smelled of detergent. The window showed the dark sky, and her heart felt heavy. She thought about her son, about the nights she held him, about the morning she could not wake him. Now she remembered the warmth of Caleb against her, the way he relaxed when she fed him. She wiped her eyes slowly. She did not know what tomorrow would bring. Hours passed. The mansion grew darker, the silence deeper. Daniel walked through the halls, unable to sleep. He stopped at the nursery door and opened it gently. Caleb slept quietly in his crib, his cheeks soft, his breathing smooth. Daniel stepped closer, placing his hand lightly on the blanket. He whispered, "You are all I have left." He felt a tightness in his chest. He knew Caleb had stopped crying only because of Maya. He knew the peace in this room came from her hands, not his. He sighed and left the room, closing the door softly behind him. Morning came slowly, with gray light slipping through the curtains. Maya dressed and walked toward the kitchen, hoping for a quiet day. But quiet was the last thing waiting for her. Mrs. Carter, the wealthy neighbor, known for her sharp tongue, stood in the dining room speaking with Daniel. Her voice carried through the hall before Maya reached the doorway. She was saying, "You must be careful, Daniel. People are talking. A woman like that, hurt and unstable, can cause trouble." Maya froze just inside the hall. Her breath caught. "Mrs. Carter continued, you should let her go before this becomes a scandal." Daniel listened quietly. His face showed conflict, not certainty. Maya stepped back slowly so they would not see her. She walked into the kitchen, her hands shaking as she washed a plate. The whispers from yesterday were now spoken in daylight. Her name was being twisted again, her actions turned into something dark. She felt small, lost, unsure if she belonged anywhere. The other maids watched her carefully, unsure if they should speak to her or avoid her. Later that day, Daniel called Maya to his office. She walked slowly, her legs weak, her chest tight. When she stepped inside, Daniel sat behind his desk, his face pale. Maya stopped a few steps from him, her hands folded in front of her. "Sir, you asked for me," she said quietly. Daniel looked at her, his eyes filled with something she could not read. "Maya," he began slowly, "you have been kind to my son. You helped him when no one else did." Maya lowered her head slightly, waiting for what would come next. Daniel continued, "But the world we live in is not simple. People are talking. They are questioning my choices. They are questioning your actions. I have to think about Caleb, about his safety, about the future." Maya nodded slowly, tears filling her eyes. "I understand," she whispered. "I only wanted to help." Daniel stood from his chair, walking around the desk until he stood in front of her. His voice softened. "I do not think you meant any harm, Maya. But this situation has gone too far. I have to make decisions that protect my son." Maya felt her legs weaken. She held the edge of his desk so she would not fall. "Sir, please," she said softly. "Let me stay until you find someone new. Caleb knows me. He feels safe with me. Do not take that from him." Daniel looked away, his voice tight. "I am sorry, Maya. You are dismissed." Maya closed her eyes, feeling a pain deeper than anything she had felt since losing her child. She whispered, "Please, let me say goodbye to him." Daniel shook his head slowly. "No, it is better if you do not." Maya felt something inside her break. She gathered the little courage she had left and walked toward the door. Before leaving, she turned and whispered, "He will not forget." Children remember love, even when adults pretend not to. Then she walked out slowly, her heart heavy, her future uncertain, and the halls of the mansion suddenly felt colder than they ever had before. The day Maya left the Harris mansion, the air in the house changed. It felt still, heavy, almost cold. Caleb began crying again before noon, his small body shaking with each thin sound. The new nanny Lisa tried to rock him, but he turned his face away from her, pushing against her shoulder in distress. Hours passed, and the crying only grew weaker, not calmer. Daniel could hear it from his office. The sound pressed into his chest like a weight he could not lift. By evening, Caleb's cries slowed into tired gasps. Daniel rushed into the nursery and lifted him, walking in circles with fear rising inside him. Caleb refused the bottle, turning his head away from every attempt. Daniel whispered softly, trying to calm him. "Come on, my boy. Please drink. I am right here." But Caleb did not listen. His breaths grew shorter, his body grew tired, and Daniel felt a deep fear spreading through him like ice. He called Dr. Wilson that night. When the doctor arrived, she checked Caleb carefully, her face serious. She looked at Daniel with calm, steady eyes. "Physically, he is not sick," she said. "His fever is gone. His heart is strong, but he is grieving." Daniel frowned. "Grieving? He is a baby." Dr. Wilson nodded slowly. "Even babies feel loss. They bond with the people who comfort them. If that bond breaks suddenly, it can hurt them in ways we cannot see. Sometimes they stop eating. Sometimes they lose their strength. Your son has lost someone he trusted." Daniel felt his body go still. Those words felt sharp, painful. He knew exactly who the doctor meant. Maya. He sat on the edge of the crib, his head down, his hands shaking. He whispered, "So he needs her." Dr. Wilson nodded again. "Yes, he does. And if his bond with her is that strong, she might be the only person who can help him now." The next morning, Caleb's condition grew worse. He refused every drop of milk, crying until he had no strength left. Daniel did not leave his side. He held him close, rocked him, whispered to him, but the child kept turning toward a comfort that was gone. When Caleb grew too weak and his breathing became unsteady, Daniel rushed him to the Riverwood City Hospital. Nurses took the baby quickly, placing small tubes around him, checking his breathing, checking his heartbeat. Daniel stood outside the glass room, his hand pressed against the window, watching his child struggle. Hours passed. The hospital lights stayed bright, even when the sky outside turned dark. Daniel stayed in the hallway, sitting on a cold chair, his hands covering his face. He whispered to himself again and again, "I made a mistake. I should not have sent her away. I should have listened." Guilt pulled at him, stronger than anything he had ever felt. When he returned to the mansion later that night to get some clothes, he heard voices near the garden. He stepped closer and saw Lisa standing with a man in a dark jacket. She handed him a small box. "This one is expensive," she whispered. "You will get good money for it." Daniel stopped moving, his eyes narrowing. The man took the box and slipped money into her hand before walking away quickly. Daniel rushed forward, grabbing the box from Lisa's hand. His voice rose sharply. "What is this?" Lisa froze, fear covering her face. "Sir, please, let me explain." Daniel looked inside the box and felt his stomach drop. It was Caleb's medication, the one the doctor prescribed last week. "You stole my son's medicine?" Daniel shouted. Lisa stepped back, shaking. "I only took a little. I needed money. I was jealous of her. Maya. Everyone trusted her more than me. I told people she was dangerous. I wanted her gone. I lied." Daniel stared at her, his face filled with anger and disbelief. "You made me fire her," he whispered. "You made me doubt her." Lisa fell to her knees, crying, but Daniel walked away without another word. Something inside him broke open, something painful and clear. Maya never meant harm. The next morning, Daniel began searching for her. He drove to the Maple Lane apartment building where she used to stay. The landlady told him she left weeks ago. "She looked tired," she said. She did not say where she was going. Daniel thanked her and left, but inside he felt lost. He drove around the city, asking anyone he saw if they had seen a young black woman with tired eyes and gentle hands. No one knew where she was. 2 days passed. Caleb remained in the hospital, growing weaker. Daniel stayed by his side, guilt swallowing him. On the third night, his phone rang. An old man's voice spoke slowly. "Are you the man looking for Maya?" Daniel stood up quickly. "Yes, please. Do you know where she is?" "My name is Henry," the man said. "She has been staying under the Oak Street Bridge. She is sick. If you care about her, come quickly." Daniel rushed out of the hospital, drove through the dark streets, and parked near the bridge. Rain fell hard, soaking his clothes. Under the bridge, small groups of homeless people sat near blankets and old bags. In the corner, curled on the cold ground, was Maya. Her skin looked pale, her clothes damp, her body shaking. Daniel froze when he saw her. His heart felt tight. He stepped closer, slowly. "Maya," he whispered. She looked up weakly. Her voice came out thin. "Why are you here?" Daniel knelt in front of her, tears filling his eyes. "I came for you. Caleb needs you. He is in the hospital. He is not eating. He is getting weaker. Please, Maya, come with me." She looked away, her eyes filling with pain. "I already saved him once. You threw me away. Why come now?" Daniel bowed his head, his voice breaking. "I was wrong. I let lies guide me. I let fear take over. Do not punish him for my mistake. He remembers you. He needs you." Maya felt her heart soften, even through her pain. Slowly, she nodded. "I will go," she whispered, "but only for the baby." Daniel helped her stand, holding her gently. They drove to the hospital in silence, the rain hitting the car like quiet whispers. When they reached the hospital room, Maya walked slowly to Caleb's bed. The baby lay still, his breathing weak. Maya touched his hand gently. "It is me," she whispered. "I am here." Caleb's fingers moved slightly. Then he opened his eyes just a little. Maya lifted him carefully into her arms and held him close. She hummed softly, the same soft sound she used to sing to her own child. Moments passed. Caleb's breathing grew steadier. His small hand gripped Maya's dress. The nurses watched in surprise. The doctor nodded slowly. "Sometimes, love is the medicine." Daniel stood nearby, his tears falling silently. He whispered, "Thank you, Maya. Thank you." Maya looked at him with tired eyes, not fully forgiving yet, but no longer closing her heart. For now, she held Caleb close, giving him the comfort he had been searching for. Outside, the night slowly softened, and a small light of hope began to grow inside the quiet hospital room, promising that this broken family would not remain broken forever. Dear viewers, this story reminds us that love can rise again, even in places filled with pain. It shows that a small act of kindness can save a life, and a moment of truth can bring broken hearts together. Maya walked into that mansion as a maid, but she became the light that healed a baby and opened the eyes of a man who had lost his way. Daniel learned that pride can destroy And that real strength comes from saying sorry and choosing compassion. Please tell us in the comments where you are watching from and what lesson you learned from this story. Your words mean so much to us, and they help us keep creating stories that touch the heart. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs hope today. And if you want more emotional stories like this, comment "more stories," and you will be the first to receive our next touching story. Now tell us in the comments. 1. Which moment touched you the most in this story? 2. Do you believe forgiveness can turn pain into healing? 3. If you were in Maya's place, would you have returned to help the baby?